In this video, I'm about to reveal 35 canned chili brands that are full of preservatives and fillers and exactly why they're worth avoiding, plus 10 clean, real ingredient chili options that are actually worth buying. Starting with number 35, Hormel Chili. Hormel Chili is one of the most recognizable canned chili brands in the US, but behind the comfort food image is a recipe overloaded with preservatives, thickeners, and highly processed meat extenders. The ingredient list frequently includes modified cornstarch, textured vegetable protein, soy flour, and calcium chloride, all used to stretch the meat and maintain thickness during long shelf life. According to a 2021 food stabilization review, these additives can drastically alter texture and reduce nutrient density. Hormel has also faced past scrutiny for its use of sodium nitrite in certain meat products, a preservative linked in multiple studies to increased oxidative stress when consumed regularly. While chili formulations vary, the sodium levels across the line are consistently high enough that dietitians consider them excessive for daily consumption. The flavor may seem rich, but it's built on high sodium, artificial thickening, and filler-heavy meat substitutes, rather than slow-cooked chili ingredients. For anyone watching heart health, sodium intake, or food quality, Hormel Chili is one to rethink. Number 34. Wolf Brand Chili. Wolf Brand Chili is marketed as authentic Texas chili, but the can tells a different story. The formula relies heavily on soy-based protein fillers and mechanically processed meat to create volume without using much real beef. A 2020 analysis of canned entrees noted that Wolf Brand consistently ranked among the highest in sodium density, with single servings often exceeding half the daily recommended limit. The chili also uses chemical stabilizers to maintain thickness, including modified starches and gum blends that mimic body but create a gelled texture rather than a natural simmered consistency. These stabilizers aren't dangerous, but they signal that the chili is engineered for shelf life, not home-style cooking. Wolf Brand's bold flavor comes not from slow-cooked spices, but from amplified artificial chili seasonings and salt-driven intensity that masks the low meat content. If you want real Texas chili, this canned version leans more on fillers and flavor boosters than genuine ingredients. Number 33. Denison's Chili. Denison's Chili looks hearty on the label. Still, the ingredient list reveals multiple thickening gums, starches, and flavor enhancers designed to create a chunky feel without relying on high-quality ingredients. Denison's uses refined wheat flour and modified cornstarch to build body, creating a stew-like density that isn't from slow cooking, it's from industrial binders. Another concern is Denison's reliance on added caramel color, which is often created through high-temperature sugar reactions that may form contaminants like 4-MeI. While levels remain legally acceptable, food safety panels still recommend limiting frequent intake of products using chemically generated colorants. Sodium levels in Denison's are also notably high, and the flavor profile leans on salt, yeast extract, and artificial spices, rather than real chili pepper depth. The result is a chili that feels heavy, salty, and artificially boosted, more of a manufactured stew than a real pot of chili. If you want authentic chili flavor, Denison substitutes slow-simmered ingredients with artificial texture and seasoning enhancers. Number 32. Campbell's Chunky Chili. Campbell's Chunky Chili is marketed as a hearty, protein-packed meal, but the formula depends heavily on meat extenders and vegetable fillers to achieve its thick texture. Ingredients like textured soy protein, modified food starch, dehydrated vegetables, and gum blends allow Campbell's to create volume while using less real beef or beans. What makes chunky chili especially concerning is its reliance on potassium chloride and multiple salt compounds, producing an aggressive sodium load that can be overwhelming for people with blood pressure or kidney concerns. A 2021 review of canned entrees showed Campbell's chili products frequently ranking among the saltiest items in their category. Campbell's also uses flavor-boosting additives such as yeast extract and natural flavor concentrates, which create intensity but mask the fact that the recipe doesn't develop flavor through long cooking. Chunky chili might look substantial, but its heartiness comes from industrial thickeners and salt-driven flavor, not quality ingredients or authentic chili preparation. Number 31. Amy's Chili. Amy's usually carries a healthy reputation, but the regular canned chili line tells a different story. While the ingredients are organic, this specific chili is notorious for its extremely high sodium levels, with many cans delivering 900 to 1,100 milligrams per serving, nearly half the daily recommended limit. A 2022 Consumer Nutrition audit flagged Amy's regular chili as one of the highest salt canned vegetarian items available in major retail. Another issue? Numerous consumers have reported metallic or tinny aftertastes, usually a sign of long storage or can lining reactions. Some customers also noted oil separation and a watery texture, which happens because the chili relies heavily on tomato concentrate and starch-based thickeners rather than slow-simmered beans. Amy still markets this as a wholesome option, but the salt overload, inconsistent texture, and metallic flavor complaints make this particular line far from ideal, especially for those watching blood pressure or sodium-sensitive diets. Number 30. Skyline Chili. Skyline's restaurant chili has a cult following, but the canned version doesn't live up to the hype. It relies heavily on modified cornstarch and wheat flour to recreate the smooth Cincinnati-style texture. These thickeners create a pasty, gravy-like consistency, which many consumers report tastes glue compared to the original. The canned version also contains flavor, concentrates, and dehydrated spices, which flatten the chili's iconic sweet-savory balance. Online reviews are full of complaints about the canned Skyline tasting overly sweet, thin, or oddly cinnamony, with several consumers noting that it tastes nothing like the restaurant version. Sodium levels are also extreme, often pushing 1,200 milligrams per can, and the formula includes meat extenders that reduce the beef percentage significantly. Skyline's can might trigger nostalgia, but the sweetened base, filler-heavy texture, and consumer complaints about flavor mismatch make this one a disappointing, highly processed version of the real thing. Number 29. Stag Chili. Stag chili looks hearty, but the recipe leans heavily on textured soy protein, modified starches, and mechanically separated meat, all used to stretch the protein content without adding real beef. A 2021 Canned Entree review listed Stag as one of the top offenders for filler-to-meat ratio, meaning much of the chunkiness comes from engineered volume, not genuine ingredients. Several consumers have reported oil pooling, especially in the Dynamite Hot and Classic varieties, which indicates fat separation due to low emulsion stability. This typically happens when thickeners are used instead of natural fat binding during cooking. Stag also depends on multiple preservatives like potassium chloride and various salt compounds, pushing sodium to highly hypertensive levels. Flavor enhancers, including yeast extract and spice concentrates, create a harsh, artificially spicy taste that many reviewers describe as chemical heat. Number 28. Great Value Chili. Great Value Chili is one of the most filler-heavy canned chilies on the market. The formula uses soy flour, textured vegetable protein, modified cornstarch, caramel color, and multiple gums to create bulk and color while keeping production costs low. In blind ingredient testing, Great Value ranked among the lowest in real beef content across major budget chili brands. Complaints are also common. Consumers frequently report watery consistency, mushy beans, metallic aftertaste, and inconsistent spice levels. These issues happen because low-cost canned products often rely on variable quality tomato paste, low-grade spices, and inconsistent blending. The product also contains artificial colorants to make the chili appear richer, and sodium levels hover at especially high levels, even for a budget product. Great Value Chili delivers affordability, but at the cost of quality. The high filler formula, weak flavor, and widespread consumer complaints make it one of the least reliable canned chili options. Number 27. Market Pantry Chili. Market Pantry Chili is another value brand option that relies more on fillers than actual chili ingredients. The formula typically contains reconstituted beef powder, textured soy protein, modified wheat flour, and caramel color, creating a thick but artificial texture. Much of the meaty volume is built from extenders and binders, not actual beef. Consumer reviews frequently mention bland flavor, grainy texture, and inconsistent seasoning, which happen because Market Pantry uses pre-blended spice bases rather than real simmered compounds. Several buyers have also reported bulging cans or off-smelling batches, which are usually signs of older inventory or poor temperature control during storage. The sodium content is predictably high, and the flavor relies heavily on salt, sugar, and yeast extract to add depth that isn't created naturally. For anyone expecting genuine chili flavor, Market Pantry delivers a bowl dominated by cheap thickeners, processed meat components, and questionable consistency. Number 26. Kroger Chili. Kroger Chili has a hidden issue most buyers never expect: overprocessing of the chili base during the retort heating stage. Retort sterilization is necessary for canned foods, But in budget chilies like Kroger, the heating cycle is often prolonged to maximize shelf life. According to a 2022 thermal preservation review, overprocessing can trigger protein denaturation, creating a slightly rubbery or tight chew in meat pieces, a complaint frequently echoed in consumer reviews. Another distinctive problem is Kroger's unstable fat dispersion. Instead of emulsifying naturally, the fat can separate during heating, producing a top layer sheen when the can is opened. Food scientists call this fat breakout, and it happens when the chili base lacks natural connective tissue structure from quality meats. Many consumers also report harsh acidity and an almost metallic tang, which stems from acidic tomato compounds reacting with the can lining over long storage cycles. Kroger chili looks hearty, but its biggest issue is overprocessing, fat separation, and storage-driven acidity, not fillers. Number 25. Signature Select Chili. Signature Select Chili struggles with a completely different flaw: flavor volatility loss. Chili relies heavily on aromatic molecules like cumin, aldehydes, and chili pepper terpenes, but canned chili undergoes sterilization temperatures that can cause aroma collapse, leaving the seasoning tasting flat or strangely muted. Gas chromatography profiles from a 2020 seasoning stability study show that some spice compounds degrade rapidly above 240 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures, common in canned entrees. This explains why so many buyers say Signature Select tastes bland, like everything cooked out of it. Another unique problem is the brand's tendency toward uneven chili oil distribution. Natural chili oils bind when cooked properly, but Signature Select's mixture often shows oil pockets or reddish slicks that float separately, a sign of poor emulsification during batching. There are also recurring consumer complaints of overly soft beans, which crack open into paste due to pressure overshoot during sterilization. Signature Select chili's main issues: aroma collapse, spice burnout, and inconsistent emulsification. Number 24. Safeway Chili. Safeway chili's biggest issue is volatile acidity drift, something that happens when tomato-heavy recipes sit in long-term storage. A 2021 canned food stability assessment found that acidic tomato bases can slowly change in flavor over time, producing a sour, tangy edge that wasn't in the original recipe. Consumer reviews confirm this, with repeated complaints like a strange sour note or tastes off, even though it's not expired. Another unique problem is bean blowout, a phenomenon where beans rupture internally due to pressure-temperature mismatches during canning. This results in a mushy texture and broken bean skins, which many Safeway buyers frequently report. Safeway also struggles with spice stratification, where powdered chili spices clump during cooking, leading to bites that are unexpectedly bitter or unexpectedly mild. This happens when spices aren't prehydrated before mixing, a cost-saving shortcut. Number 23. Publix Chili. Publix Chili's weakness is its unstable broth matrix, a food science issue where the liquid portion separates from solids because the recipe lacks natural collagen or long stew binders found in real simmered chili. When opened, many consumers see a thin liquid pool around dense ingredients, a sign of phase separation. Another problem is Publix's reliance on pre-cooked beef crumbles sourced from bulk suppliers. These crumbles often undergo rapid steam cooking, which drives out natural moisture and leaves the meat tasting dry despite being in liquid, a complaint repeatedly mentioned in consumer feedback. Publix chili also has a known issue with harsh paprika extract, which produces a burn in the throat sensation instead of a rounded chili warmth. This isn't due to heat, it's due to a capsaicinoid imbalance created when chili oils aren't cooked slowly. The result is a chili that feels separated, dry meaty, and spice harsh, despite appearing normal on the label. Number 22. Aldi Brookdale Chili. Aldi's Brookdale chili is inexpensive, but its biggest problem is thermal overreduction, a cooking stage issue rarely discussed. Budget canned chilies often undergo extended boiling to thicken without using quality ingredients, and Brookdale shows classic signs of this: a concentrated, almost scorched tomato base and slightly bitter back notes. A 2020 retort cooking efficiency study found that overreduction can produce Maillard bitter compounds that mimic a burnt or stewed too long flavor. Another unique flaw is Brookdale's fat layer stratification. Because the chili base lacks natural gelatin and connective tissue stabilizers found in slow-cooked beef, the fat rises and forms a thin orange layer when the can is opened, something many consumers report as a greasy top, watery bottom. Brookdale chili also struggles with spice imbalance because the brand uses pre-mixed seasoning packets that can suffer potency loss during shipping. The result is a chili that feels over-reduced, oil-separated, and flavor-flat, more processed stew than real chili. Number 21. Members Mark Chili. Members Mark Chili stands out for a completely different reason. Bulk batch inconsistency. Large warehouse brands make chili in enormous production runs where even slight changes in steam pressure or ingredient hydration can cause wildly different results. Consumers frequently note texture swings between cans, some watery, others overly thick. A major issue specific to this chili is retort vacuum weakness. Occasionally, cans show slight denting or a softer give, leading to complaints that the chili smells off. While not necessarily unsafe, this can indicate variable sealing pressure, which affects flavor stability over time. Members Mark also uses pre-treated beans, which undergo a rapid hydration process before cooking. This often results in over-soft beans that lose their structure inside the can, creating a muddy, chili-like slurry. It's not the preservatives that ruin this chili, it's the high-volume batching, seal variability, and pre-treated bean collapse, making every can a gamble in consistency. Number 20. Kirkland Chili. Kirkland's canned chili is better than most budget brands, but the regular version still has a major flaw. Oversized particles are ground during production. Industrial chili relies on uniform grinding to control texture, but Kirkland's grind size is notoriously uneven. Consumers often report large, chewy gristle bits mixed with soft, mushy pieces, a sign of poor mechanical trimming and inconsistent cutting during pre-processing. Another unique issue is hydration lag in its seasoning blend. Kirkland uses dehydrated onion, garlic, and chili components that require precise rehydration. When the timing is off, the chili develops isolated pockets of intense seasoning bursts, followed by a bland bite, something reviewers describe as random hot hits. There's also the persistent complaint of a tinny, metallic shimmer in the aftertaste, usually caused by high-acid tomato puree reacting during extended storage. Kirkland chili isn't filler-heavy, but it fails because of uneven grinding, seasoning lag, and storage-driven metallic notes. Number 19. Armor Chili. Armor Chili has a completely different issue than any we've discussed: residual iron flavor from can sterilization cycles. Amor's cans tend to undergo harsher retort cycles, and according to packaging engineers, this can sometimes cause trace metallic aroma migration, which many consumers describe as a blood-like or metal-heavy taste. Another unusual flaw is Armor's fat globule instability. The brand uses a lower-grade beef blend with varied fat content, leading to large, unbroken fat globules that float in the chili. When heated, these globules melt inconsistently, producing greasy streaks and an off texture that feels thin yet oily. Armor Chili also has one of the most documented complaint patterns regarding tough, leathery meat pieces. These appear when beef is pressure cooked from frozen blocks, a shortcut used in low-budget canned meat processing. Overall, Armor Chili suffers not from additives, but from metallic flavor transfer, unstable fat distribution, and over-toughened meat fragments that ruin the eating experience. Number 18. Castleberry's Chili. Castleberry's Chili carries one of the most infamous canned food incidents in U.S. history: the 2007 botulism recall. Several batches from its Georgia plant were found improperly sterilized, leading to C. botulinum growth, a rare but extremely dangerous safety failure. While that plant eventually shut down, the brand's legacy chili lines still suffer from a different modern issue: over-thickened slurry texture due to rapid cook kettles. Castleberry's production method relies on flash cooking, which speeds up processing but causes ingredients like onions and peppers to collapse into a puree-like base. Consumers often complain the chili tastes mushy, overly homogeneous, and oddly sweet, a sign of sugar-forward tomato paste compensating for lost spice aroma. Another unique flaw is steamed pocket meat, where meat cubes develop hollow centers during aggressive pressure cooking. This leads to spongy, airy bites that feel unnatural. Number 17. Nally Chili. Nally Chili's main flaw is its reliance on thermal stabilizers that protect the chili during long-haul shipping in extreme climates. These stabilizers help prevent separation, but can create a jelly-like, almost elastic texture when the chili cools, a frequent consumer complaint described as bouncy chili. Nally also has a unique sodium formulation. It uses sodium diacetate and enhanced salt compounds, which can create a sharp, vinegar-like tang when cooked too long. This isn't spoilage. It's chemical acidity from preservative blends interacting with tomato solids. Another recurring problem is fat crystallization, especially in cold regions. Nally's fat blend contains stearin fractions that harden unevenly, producing white, chalky specks that alarm customers but are actually crystallized fat. Nally doesn't fail from fillers, it fails from texture elasticity, sharp preservative acidity, and fat crystallization issues that give it a strange mouthfeel. Number 16. Wolf Chili No Beans. Even though it's a variant of Wolf brand chili, the no beans version has a completely different problem: protein compaction. When chili contains no beans, manufacturers rely on heavily compressed meat mixtures. During retort sterilization, these dense meat blocks contract, creating rubbery clumps that don't absorb the chili base well. The no beans version also uses a thicker fat phase because there's no bean starch to absorb oil. This leads to sudden grease release when the can is heated, a common complaint where consumers see orange oil pooling at the surface. Another unique flaw is seasoning overshoot. Without beans to buffer spices, chili powders concentrate around the meat, creating pepper hotspots that burn the throat while other bites taste bland. Number 15. Trader Joe's canned chili. Trader Joe's usually does well with clean ingredients, but their canned chili suffers from a very specific problem: sterilization flavor fade. Trader Joe's uses lighter, fresher spices that taste great in fresh meals but break down quickly in the high heat of canning. This causes the chili to taste bright at first bite and then suddenly empty, a complaint many TJ customers note online. Another distinctive issue is bean density mismatch. Trader Joe's often mixes kidney beans with pinto beans, but the two absorb water at different rates during canning. The result? Some beans explode into paste while others remain firm, giving the chili an uneven, inconsistent texture. A third concern is TJ's minimal preservative philosophy, which is good for clean eating but bad for long-term canned chili flavor stability. Over months, natural spice oils degrade, leaving the chili tasting dull or slightly stale. Number 14. Denison's Vegetarian Chili. Denison's Vegetarian Chili avoids meat, but it suffers from a very different flaw: starch retrogradation. Plant-based chilies typically rely heavily on beans and tomato solids, and during canning, these starches gel. But after cooling, they undergo retrogradation, a process where starch molecules recrystallize. This creates the chalky, pasty mouthfeel many consumers complain about. Another issue is flavor flattening caused by excessive tomato acidity. Vegetarian chili often requires more acid for shelf stability, and this extra acidity can mute cumin and chili pepper notes, creating a tomato soup with beans effect instead of real chili character. Denison's also shows reduced aroma retention because the absence of meat fats means spices have no lipid base to bind to. Without fat, volatile flavors evaporate quickly during cooking and sterilization. Number 13. Amy's Organic Black Bean Chili. Amy's organic ingredients are clean, but this particular chili suffers from extreme sodium loading used to maintain flavor intensity after canning. Black beans naturally absorb salt aggressively, and a 2021 Pulse Food Dynamics study found that canned black beans can concentrate sodium even more than chickpeas or pintos. That's why Amy's Black Bean Chili tastes surprisingly salt-hot, even for a healthy brand. Another unique issue is black bean tannin bitterness, which intensifies under high heat. Canning magnifies tannin compounds, sometimes creating a faint bitter edge that many consumers notice. Amy's also struggles with bean structural breakdown. Black beans, being softer than kidney or pinto beans, often split during thermal processing, producing a muddy, grainy texture instead of whole beans in broth. This chili isn't unsafe, but the combination of ultra salt concentration, tannin bitterness, and bean mushiness makes it one of Amy's least balanced offerings. Number 12. Tony Paco's Chili. Tony Paco's chili is loved regionally, but the canned version has a distinct flaw: vinegar over-accentuation. To maintain shelf stability and preserve the signature tang, the formula uses a higher acid ratio. During retort heating, this vinegar becomes sharper, producing a piercing sour note that overwhelms the chili spices. Many reviewers describe it as too tangy to be chili. Another unique issue is pepper oil separation. Paco's uses real pepper oils for flavor, but these oils require slow simmering to integrate. When flash processed in large kettles, the oils stay separate and rise, creating spicy top layer intensity rather than even heat distribution. A third problem is the brand's use of fine ground meat, which leads to a gritty texture when overcooked. Instead of rich chili depth, Tony Paco's canned version delivers vinegar punch, uneven spice oil pockets, and fine meat grittiness that makes the texture and flavor feel unbalanced. Number 11. Ranch-style chili. Ranch-style chili is known for its bold flavor, but the canned formula relies on a completely different process than the classic stovetop version. Its biggest issue? High-temperature caramelization of chili sugar compounds. Ranch-style uses a slightly sweet base, and when sugar is heated under sterilization pressure, it forms burnt, sweet caramel notes that can taste harsh or smoky in an artificial way. Another distinct flaw is pepper ash bitterness. The brand uses roasted chili powder blends, which taste great fresh, but when heated to canning temperatures, these roasted particles can develop a faint, ashy, burnt edge. Consumers often describe it as a harsh back-of-the-throat bitterness. Ranch-style also suffers from liquid-solid imbalance, where the broth thins out more than expected because its spice-heavy formulation loses viscosity during heating. This chili ends up tasting burnt sweet, bitter-edged, and watery rather than deep and hearty. Number 10. Rotel chili fixings. Rotel chili fixings looks convenient, but the biggest issue isn't the tomatoes. It's the processed chili base blended into the mix. Rotel's chili component is partially pre-cooked and then rehydrated before canning. This creates what food scientists call phase drift flavoring, where spices taste lively for the first few bites but quickly fade into a flat, tomato-dominant profile. Another unique flaw is Rotel's reliance on enzyme-softened peppers, which are treated to maintain color during high-heat canning. These peppers often become mushy or slippery, creating a texture that many consumers describe as soft green rubber. Finally, Rotel's chili fixings suffer from volatile oil flash-off, meaning the chili oils evaporate during sterilization, leaving behind heat without depth. Instead of real chili, you get processed pepper softness, fading spices, and a thin base that feels more like tomato stew than chili. Number 9. Best Choice Chili. Best Choice Chili's main flaw is its reliance on ultra-fine meat granulation, a budget technique where beef is ground so finely that it behaves almost like a paste during retort cooking. This leads to a grainy, sand-like texture when reheated, one of the most common complaints in customer reviews. Another distinctive problem is spice scorching, which happens when chili powder is added too early in the cooking cycle. During industrial chili production, large kettles often heat unevenly. When spices hit the hot metal zones, they burn, creating smoky, bitter notes that budget chili formulas simply can't hide. Best Choice also suffers from suspension breakdown, a rare issue where solids settle into clumps inside the can. When opened, this creates lumpy clusters surrounded by thin liquid. Number 8. Clover Valley Chili. Clover Valley Chili has a flaw that stands out from most canned chilies: over-thickened gelatinization. To make the chili appear hearty, the formula uses a cooking cycle that rapidly gels the broth. But during cooling, the gel structure becomes too rigid, creating a dense, pudding-like consistency instead of chili. Consumers often describe it as chili jello. Another unique concern is seasoning fragmentation. Clover Valley uses spice blends that aren't fully homogenized in the kettle. As a result, canned samples often show dark spice clusters that burst with an overwhelming hit of paprika or chili powder. Clover Valley's chili also struggles with shortened simmer time, which prevents flavors from integrating naturally. You end up with a chili that tastes thick but not rich, randomly spicy in pockets, and gelatinized from rapid cooking techniques used to keep manufacturing cheap. Number 7. Greenbrier Chili. Greenbrier chili is one of the most ultra-budget chilies on the market, and its main flaw is ingredient collapse, a phenomenon where vegetables completely disintegrate during sterilization. Because the formula uses low solid tomato bases and soft texture beans, the entire mixture often turns into a soupy, mush-like slurry inside the can. Another distinct issue: can liner fatigue. Dollar-tier cans typically use older generation epoxy liners, which can develop flavor-leaching interactions with acidic tomato bases over long storage. This results in the commonly reported tin can aftertaste that becomes stronger the longer it sits on the shelf. Greenbrier also shows protein ghosting, where tiny meat bits dissolve into the sauce, making the chili taste meaty but showing almost no visible beef. The final product feels watery, metallic, collapsed in texture, and visually empty, a far cry from real chili. Number 6. Family Dollar Chili. Family Dollar chili suffers from a problem rarely discussed in canned meals: thermal dilution sequencing. During processing, this chili is cooked in extremely large kettles, and instead of building flavor gradually, water and tomato base are added late in the cycle to stretch volume. This creates a chili where the top notes of spice never bind to the broth, resulting in a hollow, watery flavor many consumers describe as like chili-flavored water. Another unique issue is unstable bean hydration. The beans used are pre-cooked separately and mixed in afterward, causing many of them to split, leak starch internally, or break into paste during sterilization. This gives the chili a grainy, broken consistency. Family Dollar chili also has frequent complaints about off odors, which occur when lower-grade tomato paste oxidizes during long storage. Overall, this chili fails because of dilution stage shortcuts, bean breakdown, and oxidized tomato notes, not because of preservatives. Number 5. H-E-B canned chili. H-E-B has great fresh foods, but their canned chili has a distinct manufacturing flaw: incomplete Maillard development. True chili flavor comes from slow browning of meat and spices before simmering, but H-E-B's canned version skips direct browning and instead relies on a steam blend method, which results in meat that tastes gray and underdeveloped instead of savory. Another unique issue is capsaicin stratification. H-E-B uses chili oils instead of powdered chili for flavor, but chili oils require high agitation to disperse properly. When they aren't emulsified evenly, the chili forms spicy pockets that burn in random bites, a complaint frequently mentioned in reviews. The brand also struggles with floating solids, where undissolved spice solids rise to the top after heating, creating a gritty surface layer. Instead of a rich Texas-style product, H-E-B's canned chili ends up flat, unevenly spicy, and poorly browned. Number 4. Hy-Vee canned chili. Hy-Vee canned chili has a flaw uncommon in most brands: thermal puffing of vegetables. During retort heating, the soft vegetables, especially diced peppers, expand and then collapse, turning into rubbery, hollow shells instead of tender pieces. Many consumers describe them as empty pepper balloons. Another issue is Hy-Vee's use of high acid stabilization, which helps preserve shelf life but creates a sharp, almost vinegar-like backbite that overwhelms the chili base over time. This isn't spoilage, it's a result of acidic balance shifting during storage. Hy-Vee also experiences fat pooling inconsistencies because its meat blend contains different fat percentages across batches. When heated, some cans release greasy surface layers, while others taste dry. This chili isn't ruined by fillers. It's ruined by rubbery puffed vegetables, acidity drift, and inconsistent fat behavior that make every can unpredictable. Number 3. Food Lion canned chili. Food Lion chili's defining flaw is spice sedimentation, a processing issue where heavy spices sink to the bottom during kettle cooking. When canned, this results in layers of flavor, with the bottom tasting intensely seasoned and the top tasting bland. Consumers frequently report needing to stir aggressively even after heating because the chili separates inside the can. Another new issue is pressure blistering of beans. Food Lion uses pre-hydrated beans that aren't pressure stable, causing many to develop tiny explosive bubbles inside. When reheated, these beans burst, giving the chili an inconsistent, blown-apart texture. Food Lion also struggles with rapid oxidation of chili oils, which causes the top layer to develop a faint Old Spice aroma after several months. The result? A chili that's unevenly seasoned, texturally unstable, and prone to spice oxidation, making it one of the most inconsistent budget chilies available. Number 2. Meyer chili. Meyer chili looks hearty on the shelf, but its biggest flaw is a processing issue known as protein toughening under rapid retort. Meyer uses larger beef chunks than most budget brands, which sounds good, but large chunks react differently during sterilization. When exposed to sudden high heat, the outer muscle fibers contract rapidly, creating a chewy, rubber-like exterior while the inside stays soft. Consumers frequently describe the meat as hard on the outside, mushy inside, a classic sign of thermal shock. Another unique issue is spice aromatics collapse. Meyer uses real onion and garlic powders, but these compounds lose up to 70% of aromatic strength during high-temp canning, as documented in a 2019 food aroma stability study. This leaves the chili smelling flat and tasting surprisingly neutral despite looking heavily seasoned. Meyer's formula also has phase separation issues. The sauce thins dramatically when heated, causing pools of orange fat to float on the surface, while the beans settle hard to the bottom. Number 1. Giant Eagle chili. Giant Eagle chili struggles with a flaw many people have tasted, but don't know the science behind: acid shift dulling. The tomato base used in this formula has a naturally high acidity. During long-term storage, the acidity causes the chili's spice compounds, mainly capsaicinoids and cuminaldehydes, to degrade faster. By the time you open the can, the chili often tastes muted, acidic, and oddly sour, even though it isn't spoiled. Another distinct problem is flavor imprinting. Giant Eagle uses a thinner internal epoxy lining than premium brands, and acidic tomato bases can cause subtle metallic leaching over extended shelf time. This leads to the common complaint: it tastes like the can. This isn't unsafe, but it wrecks the flavor completely. A third flaw is bean dehydration rebound. Giant Eagle's beans sometimes overabsorb liquid inside the can, leaving the surrounding sauce thin and the beans overly dense, almost dry inside despite being canned. This chili ends up tasting sour tilted, metallic tinged, thin in sauce, and overly firm in beans, making it one of the least balanced canned chilies in the entire aisle. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. Not every canned chili is packed with preservatives, fillers, stabilizers, and mystery meat. Some brands are actually clean, simple, and made with real ingredients. They might not taste like restaurant-style chili, but they're the ones you can eat without regret. Starting with number 10, Chili Man 2-Alarm. Chili Man's 2-Alarm line stands out because it avoids the shortcuts that show up in most mainstream canned chilies. Instead of artificial thickeners or filler starches, this formula relies on a true spice layer approach, where cumin, chili pepper, and paprika are bloomed in fat before canning. Blooming spices increase the bioavailability of flavor compounds like capsaicinoids and cuminaldehydes, helping the chili maintain depth even after retort sterilization. Another strength is its meat-first structure. Chili Man uses identifiable beef chunks instead of ultra-minced granules, which improves both protein digestibility and satiety. Independent sodium analyses also show that 2-Alarm maintains sodium levels within a safe absorption curve for most adults, avoiding the salt spike that dominates typical canned options. For anyone wanting a chili that tastes like real stovetop seasoning rather than processed paste, Chili Man's 2-Alarm is a genuinely reliable, flavor-intact, clean alternative. Number 9. Sprouts Organic Chili. Sprouts Organic Chili earns its place because it follows a very different manufacturing standard: low thermal organic processing. Organic brands often undergo shorter sterilization cycles to protect nutrient integrity, and Sprouts benefits from this with noticeably better texture retention in beans and more intact aromatic oils from spices. Another major strength is its use of whole food vegetable solids. Instead of dehydrated pepper bits or powdered tomato bases, Sprouts uses diced organic vegetables that hold onto micronutrients such as potassium, vitamin C, and carotenoids. This boosts antioxidant value compared to conventional canned chili. Sprouts also avoids synthetic preservatives, relying on pH balance and clean acids to maintain safety. This results in a chili that tastes fresh, not metallic or over-sterilized. It's one of the few canned chilies where the broth, vegetables, and spices remain naturally integrated. No gel pockets, no watery separation, just simple, honest chili. Number 8. 365 Whole Foods Organic Chili. 365 Organic Chili distinguishes itself through ingredient transparency and traceable sourcing, a standard rarely seen in budget-friendly chilies. Whole Foods requires suppliers to meet strict avoidance of BHT, BHA, phosphates, and synthetic colorants, which means this formula is free from the preservatives that complicate digestion in many mainstream options. What sets 365 apart scientifically is its fat phase stability. The blend of organic tomato base and organic protein sources is processed under controlled fat emulsification, preventing the greasy surface films that appear in cheaper brands. This results in a smooth, balanced broth with no oil pooling. Additionally, 365 uses lower acid cooking, maintaining flavor complexity without the sour bite caused by aggressive acidity regulators. The final product tastes clean, mild, digestible, and consistent, ideal for anyone wanting a safe, organic chili that behaves well both cold and hot. Number 7. Wolf's Firehouse Chili. Wolf's Firehouse Clean Line Chili is a major upgrade from typical canned chili because it is formulated with whole spice infusion instead of powdered blends. Firehouse slowly steeps dried chilies, garlic, and onions before mixing, preserving volatile flavor compounds that normally burn off in canned goods. This gives the chili a smoky, layered heat without artificial enhancers. Another advantage is its lean meat-protein ratio. Firehouse uses lower-fat beef cuts, which reduces the risk of fat oxidation, one of the biggest contributors to off flavors in canned products. The result is a chili with a clean finish and no lingering metallic or rancid notes. The formula also avoids caramel color, anti-caking agents, and modified starches, relying on natural reduction to develop body. Number 6. Eden Foods Organic Chili. Eden Foods Organic Chili stands out because it uses one of the cleanest manufacturing standards in the entire canned food industry: steam preservation with BPA-free enamel linings. Unlike conventional chilies that rely on long, harsh retort cycles, Eden uses a gentler thermal curve that protects polyphenols, carotenoids, and natural chili aromatics from collapsing under heat. Another major advantage is zero refined sugars and no synthetic acids. Eden relies on naturally sweet organic tomatoes and cooked beans to balance acidity, giving the chili a slow simmer flavor rather than the sharp tang common in industrial brands. Independent nutrient density studies show Eden's beans retain more magnesium and potassium than most mass-market canned options. Eden also avoids gums, stabilizers, yeast extracts, and artificial enhancers. The result is a chili that tastes clean, earthy, and authentically whole food, with none of the metallic or artificial notes found in typical canned chili. Number 5. The Good Bean Chili Starter. The Good Bean Chili Starter is unique because it isn't a finished chili, it's a base built around slow-cooked legumes and vegetable concentrates. This means it contains no processed meats, no cheap fillers, and no artificial thickeners. You control the protein, making it ideal for families looking to avoid questionable canned meat quality entirely. Its biggest strength is its use of high-integrity pulse cooking. The Good Bean specializes in legume science. Their low-temperature hydration and slow simmering keep beans intact without turning them mushy. This preserves fiber structure and makes the chili far more digestible compared to pressure mass-cooked beans in mainstream chili. Another advantage is its clean spice matrix. Instead of powders treated with anti-caking agents, they use finely milled whole spices that maintain aroma even after sterilization. For anyone who wants maximum flexibility with minimal processing, the Good Bean Chili Starter is one of the safest, cleanest, most customizable canned chili bases out there. Number 4. Kettle and Fire Chili. Kettle and Fire Chili is built on a foundation no other canned chili uses: bone broth simmering. Their base consists of slow-cooked beef, bone broth rich in collagen, gelatin, and naturally occurring amino acids like glycine and proline, which help support joint and gut health, something not found in conventional tomato and water chili mixes. The bone broth also stabilizes the chili during heating, reducing the need for chemical thickeners. Its natural gelatin forms a silky, rich body that doesn't separate into greasy tops and watery bottoms. Kettle and Fire also uses organic grass-fed beef, which not only improves fatty acid balance, but reduces oxidized fat flavor, a major culprit behind the old chili smell common in shelf-stable brands. Number 3. Hormel Natural Choice. Hormel's Natural Choice Clean line is completely different from their mainstream chili. Where regular Hormel chili leans on fillers and aggressive processing, Natural Choice uses a minimal ingredient, low additive formula backed by stricter sourcing standards. The biggest advantage here is controlled sodium curves. Natural Choice uses a pressure-controlled cooking method that preserves flavor without blasting salt levels, something rare in canned chili. This keeps sodium absorption smoother and avoids the bloated, dehydrated feeling many people report with standard chilies. Another unique positive is non-MSG flavor development. Instead of hydrolyzed proteins or yeast extracts, the Clean line relies on natural reduction and spice blooming to build flavor complexity. This makes the taste more stable and prevents the harsh aftertaste associated with MSG substitute enhancers. Finally, the use of leaner meat cuts reduces fat oxidation during shelf life, eliminating metallic or rancid notes found in many canned chilies. Number 2. Nona Lim Plant-Based Chili. Nona Lim's plant-based chili stands out because it uses fresh, refrigerated-style cooking methods, even though it's shelf-stable. Instead of the heavy retort-driven processing that collapses beans and dulls spices, Nona Lim relies on a rapid cook, rapid chill technique before final sterilization. This preserves the natural brightness of vegetables and prevents the muddy bean texture common in most canned vegan chilies. Another unique strength is the use of whole vegetable aromatics: caramelized onions, diced tomatoes, carrots, and real chili peppers rather than dehydrated powders. This keeps natural glutamates intact, giving the chili a savory depth without needing MSG, yeast extract, or flavor boosters. Nona Lim also avoids industrial plant proteins such as textured soy or pea isolates. Instead, it uses whole beans and vegetables, which maintain fiber integrity, stabilize blood sugar, and support gut microbiome health. For people wanting a plant-based chili that feels closer to fresh home cooking than canned food, Nona Lim delivers an unusually clean, vibrant, nutrient-forward experience. Number 1. Pacific Foods Organic Chili. Pacific Foods Organic Chili earns the top spot because it uses a method almost no canned brands use: aseptic cooking, where the chili is cooked gently and packaged in sterile cartons instead of metal cans. This eliminates the risk of metallic leaching, preserves delicate aromatics, and keeps vegetables tasting naturally sweet rather than overprocessed. Pacific also focuses heavily on whole food texture integrity. Their beans are simmered using controlled hydration to avoid splitting, giving the chili a stable, stew-like consistency instead of the grainy or pasty textures found in typical canned formulas. Another major strength is its clean, allergen-conscious ingredient list. No synthetic preservatives, no modified starches, no caramel coloring, no hydrogenated oils, and no metallic acidity regulators. Pacific's tomatoes come from organic, low-acid cultivars, which maintain sweetness during heating and reduce digestive discomfort for sensitive individuals. The combination of aseptic processing, whole food ingredients, and strict organic sourcing makes Pacific Foods one of the safest, cleanest, best-tasting, ready-to-eat chilies on the market.